Hey guys, it's Paul. So today I'm going to be profiling my Rikka deck. This is a deck that I built recently, and at first I didn't really guess this deck wasn't on my radar, but after playing with it for a while, I found that it's a lot of fun, and also the art's really nice, and it's a cool plant archetype that, plants don't get that many great archetypes, so it's kind of neat. I'll also say right off the bat, this is just kind of an early build. It's not meant to be perfect. It's not meant to win you every tournament. It's a lot of stuff's experimental, so go easy on me, all right? Jeez. Okay, so the first card is Rikka Petal. So this card is everything for this deck. She is your Stratos. She can also be like your Armageddon Knight to pitch things to the grave. The best part about her, though, is that Rikka Petal during your opponent's end phase can actually come back to your side of the field as long as you control either no monsters or all plant monsters, which means you'll pretty much always be getting her back. This card coming back turn over turn over turn is a big deal because you'll be able to get advantage from her each turn. And then it's like tribute fodder each turn. So this thing's huge, it's very important, and it's a level 1 monster, so you can even summon it with 1-for-1 stuff. Great card. Next, Mudan the Rikka Fairy. So this one, you can activate her effect in your hand and tribute a plant and special summon her. When she gets special summoned by the effect of a plant monster, herself included of course, she will search your deck for any Rikka spell or trap cards. So that's obviously very important. This is great to summon with Snowdrop actually, or summon with Lone Fire Blossom, but just summoning it itself is fine too. Next, we've got Snowdrop herself. I'm surprised this one wasn't secret rare since she's so important to the strategy. You contribute a plant monster, special summon her, and then another plant from your hand, and you'll be locked into plants for the turn, but that's okay. You only really run those. And then also, it can target any plant in the field, itself or others, and make all plants you currently control that monster's level. So if you target herself, of course, all your plants will become level 8, which is great for making your main boss monster Teardrop, but you could also turn all your plants 6 or 4 or whatever you need to make valuable Xyz monsters. So very cool card. Next is Primula the Rikka Fairy. Currently rank 3, thinking about dropping this to 2. I'm not entirely sure, but basically whenever you tribute a monster, you can summon this from your hand, and you can increase a plant's level by 2 or up to 2, but Anyway, it's really cool because this is 4, and they recently got a rank 4 Xyz monster, but it can make itself into a 6, or it can make another plant monster that's like a 6 into an 8 or whatever. So very flexible, fun card, great for just getting additional plants on the field, which is a big deal for this deck oftentimes. Next is Erica. So Erica is actually the battle phase sort of hand trap. It can beef up your Rikka monster by 1,000. Not necessarily that important, but could come up. More importantly though, if she's in your graveyard and one of your monsters gets tributed, you can special summon her. She'll be banished when she leaves the field, but since you're probably going to be overlaying her for an Xyz monster, that usually isn't really an issue. So it's great recursion, a little bit better than Hellebore, which I don't actually run. Next, we've got some non-Rikka cards. Evil Thorn. This card is incredible as a starter card. You tribute it, burn your opponent for 300, and then summon 2 more Evil Thorns from your deck. They can't use their effects, of course. And this is great because you can summon it with 1-for-1, and then also you can use these to turn them into either Aromatherapy Jasmine, the Link monster that you'll be using most of the time, or you could, of course, use them alongside Snowdrop and just turn their levels into whatever you want, and boom. Next, Triple Lone Fire as a plant deck. I feel like this is just kind of a staple thing. Tribute it or another plant, get any plant you want from your deck. It's great because it actually triggers Mudan the Rikka Fairy. If you summon that, it could be useful for this next card, Mardell. So Mardell, if it gets normal or special summoned, mostly it's going to be special summoned, you get to add a plant monster from your deck to your hand, so it's great for generating advantage. This deck really does mostly just want advantage. You want to have lots of plants so that your Snowdrop and stuff can have things to summon from hand, and you can change all their levels. It's a good time. And finally, a single Rose Girl. I was running 2 of this, but I find it's kind of cloggy if you have 2 of them. It can't. Well, basically, its effect, first of all, is if one of your plants gets sent to the grave, like tributing, for instance, then you can special summon this Rose Girl. And also, if this is in your graveyard and you control a plant, you can add it to your hand. But you can't use both effects in the same turn, so it's a little bit slow, but it's just kind of a gradual, recurring piece of advantage. And for this deck, that's kind of really important. Petal coming back, Rose Girl, just getting recurring amounts of plant monsters back onto your field is extremely valuable. Let me straighten this mat. How did this get crooked? Yeah, so that's all the monsters for the deck. It's pretty heavy on the monsters because, like I said, you do want to see them. Next, I'll get into the spells. So we've got Rikka Glamour. This is your search spell. It's interesting because, like all of the Rikka spell and traps, you can actually tribute a monster when you activate this, and a plant monster. So normally it will just add a Rikka from your deck to your hand. That's of course going to be great for seeing your Petal, or perhaps seeing Mudan, perhaps seeing Snowdrop. But if you tributed a plant when you use this, you'll be able to get an additional monster to your hand. Another plant monster. Doesn't actually have to be a Rikka. It just has the same original level as the Rikka monster that you tributed, so, or the Rikka monster that you added. So this is really nice. It's just a good card. I mean, like, really, it's very flexible. You don't always want to tribute a plant, but sometimes there's a good opportunity to do so, and you can trigger a couple of your other card effects. So it's nice. Next, two Rikka Flurries. So this is a continuous spell. Whenever one of your Rikka monsters gets tributed, you can force your opponent to tribute a monster of their choice. So this is actually pretty good because your opponent is being forced to tribute. This can actually get around monsters that aren't like affected by things because you're making your opponent tribute a monster is kind of how that ruling works. And also, it's just nice because like you can get rid of a card on your turn and get rid of a card on their turn and all that. So fun time. The only downside is that they get to pick. So that's not great. And I only run two because, well, it's a hard once per turn. Don't want it to clog. Foolish Burial, great if you want to pitch Petal, it could come back. You could also pitch Erica, or if you ran Hellebore, it's good for pitching those types of things. You get something in the graveyard to get back with your Xyz monster. Foolish is overall a pretty good one, and 1-for-1 is great because it searches Rikka Petal and also can search Evil Thorn. So if you open with Petal and 1-for-1, you can still use this to get Evil Thorn, lots of monsters. It's a fun time. And finally, I'm running two Pot of Desires. These are just useful for they're just draw power. Like I said, the deck wants to see a lot of stuff in hand, and particularly once you've done your combo like once, like, you know, Petal into, Snowdrop and all that stuff and gotten some searches, you don't really mind banishing stuff with Pot of Desires, so that's why I think it's pretty cool. Finally, some traps. We've got Rikka Sheet and Rikka Tranquility. So these are the trap cards for the deck. Neither one is fantastic, but they're pretty useful. So with Rikka Sheet and Rikka Tranquility, you can tribute Rikka monsters when you activate these. Rikka Sheet can make a monster be unable to use its effect, but if you tributed when you activated it, then you can take control of that monster and it'll become a plant. So very valuable. And Tranquility summons one of your Rikkas from the grave. If you tributed a monster, a plant monster, and you activate it, then you'll get to summon an additional monster. So it's like a either 1-for-1 or like a 2-for-2, but it can be really nice if you want to trigger off some Rikka effects. So yeah, these are cool. Thought about maybe dropping like Tranquility down to 1, but Sheet's a pretty good control card. And then I'm running a Solemn package, triple Solemn Judgment and triple Solemn Strike. This is honestly all I could find. I mean, you could replace this with anything. These could be hand traps if you want to run hand traps. These could be like Lost Wind or something like that if you're kind of more into the recurring negation stuff. Either way, just kind of like run however you feel. You could cut them down as well if you wanted more like combo pieces or something. I could do like 2 and 2. All right, finally the extra deck, which is not a full 15-card extra deck. I'm just including the stuff that I summon, and a couple of these I need extra copies of. Real quick, just to get it out of the way, we've got our Link monster, Aromatherapy Jasmine. So if your life points are higher than your opponent's, then this and any plant monsters it points to can't be destroyed by battle. You would think this wouldn't be super relevant, but because of Evil Thorn's effect, if you're going first and you use Evil Thorn, you'll burn your opponent for 300, and then that means your life points will be higher than theirs. So this and all of the stuff it's pointing to can't die in battle. It could take your opponent by surprise, and not all you have to really worry about is removal effects, and that's pretty deadly when they like start swinging and they think they swung over something and they don't. It's a good time. So I'm only running one because I only have one. You could probably run two, but you typically won't make her that often. You tribute a plant and you can summon a plant from your deck, so it's great for getting rid of things and then summoning mostly Mardell or Mudan. Those are like the good ones to summon. Petal if you have to. Next we've got some Xyz. This is Kanzashi. I guess I should actually start with Teardrop. She's the main boss monster. She's actually the highest rank one. So you can basically tribute an opponent's monster, target it and tribute it. Kind of sucks that it targets, but it's not so bad. Either way, it's a quick effect if you have a plant underneath her. Obviously, that's going to be like the case all the time. If something gets tributed, she also gains some attack points until the end of the turn. So she can become like 3,000, 32, 36, something kind of high. I need to get a third copy of her. So if you are building this deck, you should probably run 3 because this deck can grind and you'd want to have a third. Next is Kanzashi. So Kanzashi is one of the, in my opinion, kind of less useful ones. Basically, it can protect your plants as kind of a passive effect, but if a monster gets tributed, then you can detach and target one of those monsters and summon it to your field, and it becomes a plant. It's useful, just a little situational is all. And then finally, the new rank 4, I say new, it's been out for a couple months now, Rikka Queen Straina, so you can detach from her and actually grab back any Rikka card, even spells and traps, from your graveyard, which is nice. And then if she gets tributed, you can special summon a rank 5 or higher Plant Xyz monster in your deck, or not a deck, your extra deck or your graveyard, and then summon it and equip her to it. So it's a great way to recycle something like Teardrop, or you could even use a single copy of Aurea that I'm running. This can be pretty good for OTKs because it can clear the field, and it's pretty nice. So yeah, that's basically it for the deck, at least right now. Rikka's pretty fun. I honestly suggest building it. It's not terribly expensive anymore. It'll probably still get like maybe 1 or 2 more support cards down the line. And it's fun. It's just a good control deck. It's pretty accessible and easy to play. It's solid. Good times. Alright, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, of course. Check out our other deck profiles here on Deck Check, and that's going to be it. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Pass turn.